My Lords, I thank the Noble Minister for introducing this important bill. Cybersecurity is clearly of vital importance to the protection and prosperity of our nation. But if we fail to plan, then we plan to fail. And this bill is at the heart of the government's cybersecurity plan. I was born and raised in a part of the world that many think of as paradise, bliss, utopia. It's called Birmingham, just off the M6 motorway by the gasworks. I can see there's some accord there, or maybe it should go to VAR, I don't know. I was a district councillor in that region, and one of the largest employers there are Jaguar Land Rover. Now, this giant motor vehicle manufacturer is the head of a supply chain of over 4,000 companies. GLR were the victim, as we all know, of a cyber attack last year, and were bailed out by this government to the tune of a £1.5 billion loan guarantee. Now, the government believed it had no choice, because if they'd let GLR fall, then thousands of workers would have lost their jobs. And I do have some sympathy with that rationale. But it did set a dangerous precedent. It's also worth noting, surely, that the company had not completed taking out an insurance policy against cyber attacks. And so the first point I want to make to the Noble Minister is that there's no mention in the bill of the role of the insurance industry. Surely the issue of essential and compulsory cyber insurance is one that needs to be looked at going forward. Otherwise, we'll have another situation where we have to bail out another huge company. The retail chain Marks & Spencer lost 99% of its profits due to a ransomware attack which disrupted services and stole customer data last year. Harrods and the Co-op also experienced cyber breaches over recent months. And surely there is a glaring weakness then in the bill in that it will have no impact on private companies such as these. So can the Noble Minister explain why the scope of the bill cannot be extended now, not in the future, but now, to include large private retailers, at least those of over a certain defined size or turnover? I understand there's a potential in the bill for improving things in the future, but why not do it now? One of the lessons of history is that we must learn lessons from history. And surely a vital lesson is to take into account the changes in the world around us. In the bill, the government recognises the fact that the artificial intelligence revolution has increased the need for more effective cyber security. And yet there is still no UK AI regulation, there's no cyber strategy, there's no mention whatsoever of quantum computing, encryption is not mentioned. Surely these are matters that need to be discussed and looked at now, not sometime in the future, when you consider how fast AI is progressing. We also have a cyber security skills shortage, with 49% of UK companies admitting a lack of cyber foundational skills. As well as protecting the nation in this AI age, it is skills that will pay the bills and grow the economy. Now, it's right that the government has announced initiatives to attempt to fill vacancies in the cybersecurity industry, but there is no definition in the bill of what is required to be a skilled person in this context. I've just asked the question, why not? Why not look at it now? Now, we're living longer and the demands on the public sector are growing, but there is also a lack of focus in the bill on the public sector, particularly the risk to NHS data. For example, Synovus has been mentioned. It's a company which provides pathology services to the NHS. A couple of years ago, a ransomware attack on Synovus cost £32.7 million and resulted in delays to over 11,000 appointments and even allegedly one death. Surely all companies, private and public, that hold personal data should demonstrate that they have effective defences against cyber attacks. Now, I tried to find out whether Synovus would be covered by this bill, and there is some ambiguity as to whether it would be covered by the bill or its suppliers. And I suggest that ambiguity at this stage is not helpful. I welcome the fact that the expanded scope of the bill now includes data centres, managed service providers, electrical load controls and critical suppliers. But the bill does not go far enough to protect the UK economy. The current structure of the bill allows the Secretary of State, in principle, to expand the number of sectors in the scope of the regulations. But even to implement secondary legislation will require the government to meet a number of conditions. I know the Minister has referred to emergency powers, but that's still a process rather than an event. And surely the principle of the Secretary of State reporting back to Parliament every 5 years is not good enough in this fast AI world that we're living in. The government also needs to recognise that many companies operate across borders, including in the EU, where they have to comply with European directives as to cybersecurity, which do not apply to the UK. Now, of course, over-regulation must not stifle innovation, but with 12 regulators enforcing this bill, there is a danger of regulatory duplication. This is especially so for organisations covered by more than one regulator. Where appropriate, the government should seek to ensure that UK cybersecurity regulations align across each regulated sector and across borders with other jurisdictions such as the EU. For example, the government could ensure that all regulators accept common forms of evidence demonstrating compliance. So there needs to be the adoption of a common baseline security standard alongside ongoing evidence of security requirements across regulated sectors. This should also recognise that different sectors have their own particular needs. Farming is different to fashion, which is different to football. The standard could be, for example, the National Cyber Security Council Cyber Assessment Framework, CAF. And in order to coordinate regulators, an example of this already exists with the Digital Regulators Cooperation Forum, which helps deliver a coherent approach to digital regulation. My Lords, 43% of all UK companies experience a cyber breach in the last 12 months. The Department for Science, Innovation and Technology report that cyber attacks cost the UK economy £14.7 billion per year, and the problem is increasing. For 10 years, I had the privilege of being Vice President of the British Film Board, BBFC. Hollywood sometimes does produce entertaining films which see the future. For example, Steven Spielberg's movie called AI was made 25 years ago, which is incredible to think. Now, there was a consistent theme in many of the more positive films that we regulated, in that good did overcome evil. So with a stronger version of this bill, we can defeat the cyber monsters. In the more positive and hopeful movies we regulated, RoboCop did prevail over the Terminator, and Luke Skywalker did overcome Darth Vader.